Hi everyone. Today I wanted to discuss the old case of the disappearance of the 10-month-old Lisa Irwin from her home in Kansas City on October 4th, 2011. So the parents, Deborah Bradley and Jeremy Irwin, say she must have been abducted, but Deborah was heavily drinking that night and Jeremy came home late from work. There were also two older half-brothers, one from her and one from him, in the house. It's an interesting case, similar to the Madeleine McCann's case. It's still open and highly suspicious as the parents devoted their lives to finding their daughter. Here I will look at 3 interviews in reverse order from 2018, 2015 and 2013, analyzing their body language, their nonverbals, and their verbals, that is statement analysis. So body language is difficult to control because it is controlled by the limbic nervous system, which is also called the reptilian, the primitive brain, as it bypasses conscious thought. This nervous system also influences the autonomic nervous system, which is heart rate, breathing, arousal, and flight or fight response. These things are very difficult to control consciously. And statement analysis says there's nothing random or by chance. Out of the 25,000 words most of us use, people pick certain ones, and the words which are chosen convey information. Okay, let's get started.
Tough to get these pictures and to see this.
It's a mixture of feelings. It's very.
Let's look at the most recent interview from 2018. It's about a new age progression photo, which depicts how she might look like now, years later.
Overwhelming because we want to see her in person. We don't want to see her through a picture.
So the behavior is quite typical for them. She is very emotional. She can cry on command or whenever something comes up about Lisa, even years after the incident. And he generally is poker-faced, is extremely quiet and looks down. So her emotions would be fine. However, considering that it was years ago, I find it slightly misplaced. And he always was poker-faced even after it happened. So poker-faced might mean he's afraid of leaking information, so he's very stoically tries to avoid any, which is of course giving out information as well about his state of mind. Or it's because of some cognitive overload that he simply forgets to use his muscles because there's so much going on in his head. In any case, it's not a good sign.
But having the picture is better than having nothing.
She's probably in a school somewhere with other kids. Hopefully somebody will notice something that's not quite right with it.
Why would anyone say probably in a school? What facts or what information is this based on? Nothing. This is all storytelling. They're trying to convince the listener that they're caring parents and they want to create empathy in them. They're manipulating the conversation, the interview.
As she gets older, do you feel like there's a possibility she could even see herself? With the way kids are with tablets, I know that's something you guys said has crossed your mind.
Absolutely. With the children, even in elementary school, it is likely she could see herself.
And it has happened before where adults have found themselves, realized they were missing child at one point in time.
So she's holding the photo and looking at it like she sees it for the first time. This somewhat creates a barrier between her and the interviewer. He also has his fingers linked together. It means two things. It's first of all a defensive gesture. He's defending his weak points of his body by his hands. And second, he's stretching his fingers, which is a pacifying gesture that's designed to release and to dissipate stress.
Lisa's parents believe their daughter was kidnapped, then sold.
We are in touch with KCPD, and we still continue to give them everything that comes across our table. And they still assure us it's active investigation, and they are definitely still working on it.
There are people out there who say the parents must have done it. What do you want to say?
At the end,
Let's go back. Let's look at Jeremy's head.
There are people out there who say the parents must have done it. What do you?
So he's slightly nodding. Did you see that?
Parents must have done it. What do you want to
Now
say?
he's nodding. So he's effectively agreeing to the statement that the parents did it.
at the end of the day, as long as they're looking for Lisa, I don't care.
So he's not fully answering the question and he looks a little bit smug now.
So we're still here, we're on TV, we did it, we didn't do it, whatever. As long as you're still looking for her, that's all I care about.
So why would they not care? They still have 2 other kids and the public opinion must matter in their everyday's life. So do they really not care? Let's go back.
We did it, we didn't do it, whatever. At the end of the day, as long as they're looking for Lisa, I don't care.
So that's the thing, of course, if they think they did it, then they wouldn't look for Lisa anymore. So the statement makes no sense.
So we're still here, we're on TV, we did it, we didn't do it, whatever.
So he's avoiding the question, and this could be interpreted as an embedded confession. He said, we did it, whatever.
We're still here, we're on TV, we did it, we didn't do it.
So he's smiling. That could be also interpreted as a feigned duping delight. That's a pleasure we get from tricking other people and getting away with it. There's a slight asymmetry in his smile, and asymmetries are generally a sign of dishonesty. Symmetric is good, asymmetric is not very good. So here on this side, the zygomaticus major and minor muscle would pull one side up, giving him the asymmetric smile. So it's very faint. Let's go back to
We
it.
miss her. And there's not a second that goes by that she's not on our minds.
So she cries like it happened yesterday, while he is completely poker-faced. So together this look like caring parents, because you sort of blur her emotions and his sort of pragmatic, rationalistic approach. But if you would take them separately, and considering that this is 7 years later, you would come to the conclusion that this is over the top and that he seems completely abnormal in his behavior. Okay, let's go to the next video. So this video is done by Megyn Kelly from 2015.
Lisa's parents, Deborah Bradley and Jeremy Irwin. Welcome to you both. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
What is it like for you to sit and listen to Mark Fuhrman say those things?
They're just opinions, in my opinion. Yeah, it doesn't mean anything to me. I know that
I guess someone accused them of being guilty.
it's not true, and my most important goal and focus is bringing my daughter home.
Do you think the police are following up on any leads now?
I do.
Really?
I do. I have faith that they are.
Why?
Claiming to have trust in the police after 4 years of nothing happening is not believable.
I do.
Really?
I do. I have faith that they are.
Why?
That's a very good question. So the simple question, why, by Megyn Kelly. She's a tough interviewer, and these kind of questions are hard to answer. Pause, false start.
Well, recently we have caught up there.
Pauses,
They're saying that there's still at least 2 leads that come in
another
a week,
false
and they check every single one of them.
speech error.
And we're supposed to meet with them after the holidays to go over all the information that we've given them, that we found.
Have you been in touch with them?
Yeah.
You've been talking to them?
Yeah, that was very high voice, a change of pitch. So changes in the paralinguistics, like volume, pitch, is not a good sign.
We've kept in contact with them most of this whole time.
Again, a speech error most of the whole time makes no sense.
How do you survive? I mean, 4 years later and you haven't seen her. How do you survive?
It's
So it's again a very direct question, which is very hard to answer if you hypothesize that they actually did it. So how do you answer a question like that?
It's pretty difficult. You just stuck in the day-to-day
So he has to think.
motions every day. The same thing over and over. And just try to keep it together. Try to keep yourself together one more day.
So keep it together, it sounds all very difficult, it's a negative thing, but he shows no signs of sadness or anger that nothing came out of the search. There's not even a sign of fatigue. That's incongruent with what he's saying.
When I interviewed you a couple of years ago, Deborah, we had the picture of Lisa, that the Center for Missing and Exploited Children. We put that on the.
It's also good that Megyn asks specific questions to either Deborah or Jeremy, so they can't choose and pick who's answering what. That makes it harder for them to answer.
You said even back then you were looking in the crowd whenever you pass a child who would be Lisa's age.
Yeah, we actually, I did it all day today when we were walking around before we came here to see you.
Really? After so many years?
We were standing on the corner and I
So she had to look up. It looks at that moment she's trying to create a story.
seen a little girl, she was in her stroller,
And then she cries again on command.
and she's about Lisa's age, And I looked down at her, and I said to Jeremy, I'm really tired of looking at everybody else's kid open. It's mine.
This is again storytelling, trying to create empathy in the viewer about their case.
What have you done, at home with her room? What is her room like now, Jeremy?
Her room is pretty full. It's
Of her stuff, or have you moved on from that?
No, it's all her stuff. We haven't done anything with it since the time she was kidnapped, other than we've had to try to stockpile all the gifts and presents and things like that.
Painful to walk by that? Do you get to the point
Feels
where you
good.
can handle it?
It feels good to go in
So why would that feel good? This is over the top.
there and smell her
Smell her after 4 years.
and know that someday she's going to come home and she's going to see all these presents and she's going to be excited to open them and to watch her reaction. And
What do you think about, do you think it was this guy, Jersey? What do you think, Jeremy?
Very good interviewing again. She completely switched the topic and back to Jeremy. It's about a suspect who was temporarily investigated, but then he was let go again.
Well, like,
False start, there are pauses. So he's on the spot and he has to answer questions. Let's see what he says.
we keep saying one of the more difficult things is that we don't ever get any information feedback from.
So now he's playing dumb. He's not answering the question. So if you were desperate of finding the culprit who took your little baby daughter, you would jump on any suspect because there are very few and it's 4 years later. How is that possible? Like he doesn't care.
Other people, law enforcement, maybe.
What?
So I don't know. I don't.
Did they ever find fingerprints in the house of another person?
Not that we're aware
they
of.
won't. They have not divulged any of that information. So there could be things there that we don't know about. But they can't
what about
divulge that.
the reports were that a cadaver dog got a hit in the house in your bedroom?
There's
Very interesting. So she came again with a new question. So bombarding them with questions.
nothing missing from my bedroom and never
So now she says there's nothing missing, but that's not what a cadaver dog is about.
has been.
But the cadaver dog smells the scent of deceased.
Right.
Is there any ever report of somebody dying in the house, anything like
So after so and so many years of an ongoing investigation, you would expect they would know immediately what a cadaver dog is. It was big on the news.
We did some research, but as far as we know, no.
That was not very believable. You saw this one shoulder going up. Asymmetry is not a good sign. She has no conviction about what she's saying.
Your biggest regret about that evening, obviously, your child, you say, was taken, but in terms of your own behavior?
I wish I hadn't been drinking.
I don't know. I can't believe that.
Because, I feel like it was planned and they were going to take her.
So there are a lot of assumptions that someone planned it, that there were several people, they.
And it was going to happen. But I feel like maybe if I hadn't been drinking, I would have heard something. And got up, and I just feel like I didn't save her.
Statistically speaking, it's most likely that the parents did it. So either she had her in her bed when she was drinking, and then falling asleep, she rolled on her and she suffocated her, or Jeremy sexually abused the baby, and based on that, she died. And in either case, as a behavior would be criminal, they couldn't just go to the police. They would have lost the custody of the other two kids. By going overboard with this ongoing investigation with t-shirts and TV interviews, they become untouchable because they're so much in the spotlight. And they're also directing the investigation away from them. This is particularly the case because of the $100,000 reward, which must create all kinds of false tips, keeping everyone very busy. So this interview is now from 2013, so 2 years after she disappeared.
For sure is enough, no matter what. Every single time we get any tips for...
So here she seems more collected than 7 years later. She has again a photo in her hand and she's not crying. And he looks almost identical.
a baby or a child matching Lisa's description, no matter if there is something off or something may not mesh completely with Lisa, we still look into it. We're just happy that...
So happy is a wrong word.
There's a little girl that's going to be returned to her family, and their nightmare will end. And it gives us even more hope than we already have.
Based on what? That's 2 years after she disappeared. Most likely they never find her again. Why would they?
I have immense hope that my daughter's not only okay, but she's going to come home.
So she has immense hope, but she's shaking her head. Sees it again.
Not only okay, but she's going to come home. And I don't need statistics, and I don't need...
Shaking her head. So she doesn't believe what she's saying. That's incongruent behavior. It's a sign of dishonesty.
Anybody to tell me that
It's
this is
fake.
what I feel it's her mom. It doesn't matter where they found this little girl. It's obvious that human traffickers can...
It's an unfounded allegation that human traffickers would have come to their home in Kansas City and abducted their baby in the middle of the night. Why? What evidence is there for that? None.
Can and will take their abducted children all over the world. So...
Shaking her head again, not believing it.
As far as distance, that means nothing to me.
Again, shaking her head, incongruent.
Because she could be anywhere. We try not to get our hopes up too much because we've been...
So now she's saying she doesn't get her hopes up, so that's contradicting what she said earlier.
let down before. But it's hard to do. It's hard to be rational and logical when all you want is your baby. And
Okay, I think I stop here. So the more I look at these videos, the more I think it's just theater and playing. Without each other, they would look like creepy. She completely emotional like it was yesterday, 7 years later. And he, even days after the disappearance, he was exactly the same, completely stoic. Statistically speaking, most likely the parents did it. And so far I've seen nothing which would convince me otherwise. Okay, I hope you liked my analysis and I'll talk to you later. Bye.